the first to introduce you to Annex Lab Fast. This is the first of many seminars that we're going to give throughout this time to make sure that you guys understand the benefits of fasting and also understand what's going on throughout this challenge with how you feel, what you're experiencing, how your workouts are going to develop along with this fasting strategy. So this is meant to be a breakdown of what's expected from you from going through this challenge. Going through this outline, so with the nutrition, you have two different tracks. We can choose to do fasting or we can choose to do the standard Annex Lab feeding window. So with fasting, with feeding, as we're fasting, what I'm asking you to do is throughout these 8 weeks, we're going to introduce very small windows of when you are not going to eat during the day. You'll only drink non-calorie beverages, and then windows of what you're going to eat thereafter. Now, it's really important when we're doing fasting that we maintain an energy balance in regards to the calories that we're getting in. I'll talk a little bit more about this in detail in a couple different slides. The feeding option, you'll receive 3 customized meal plans. You'll eat according to those meal plans, and I would say this is for people who have never done the Annex Lab before, or if it's been a very long time since you've done something like this. And it's mainly catered around ensuring that you're getting the right quality of food, the right quantity of food, and at the right times of the day. It limits the amount of food that you're intaking. It limits the it limits the option of going out to eat, and that's going to be the feeding type of this challenge. After you've chosen that track, so after we've either decided to go with fasting, decided to go with feeding, you'll then be provided a plan of attack of how you're going to be successful in these 8 weeks. From there, you're going to stay focused on the window that you're going to choose, and we're going to slowly and steadily kind of work our way through these 8 weeks. Through Kajabi, we're going to do a really good job ensuring that you're getting the content you need, the education that you need, and also ensuring that you never have any questions on what is expected from you on a week-to-week basis. In regards to your training, so Annex Lab Fast also incorporates 8 weeks of additional training. I'd like you guys to follow your normal programming. That's the first and foremost, most important thing. Normal programming, depending on if you actually are an Annex training member, or if you are just working out in your standard gym, it's what you do on a typical week. So if you come in and you do 3 of our CrossFit classes every week, that is of utmost priority. So stick doing those 3 classes. From there, if you'd like to add some unconventional training, there are 3 times a week, different types of training. Now, what I mean by unconventional is I mean just odd object training, pushing sleds, carrying kegs, using ropes to pull weight, using thicker barbells, kettlebells, one arm, one leg, anything that is untraditional type of training. This is what you're going to be exposed throughout this 8-week challenge. You'll also have an option of doing 1 time a week Zone 2 cardio. Zone 2, think of this like when you're running and you're able to keep a pretty good conversation with somebody without getting too out of breath. That would be what I call Zone 2. So you're able to kind of breathe, your heart rate's elevated, but it's not elevated high enough to make it challenging to maintain. Zone 2 is typically done anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. So number 2 and number 3 on this slide are optional, but I do suggest that you try to get some of these days in on a week-to-week basis just to give it a try. Let's go into detail here a little bit more about the fasting rules. So like I said, on a weekly basis, we're going to introduce feeding windows and fasting windows into your diet. On week 1, you will see that we have a 12-hour fast. You can choose whatever day of the week you want to do that. You can choose whatever time of the day you'd like to do that. So I do suggest on your first week of fasting, you should start fasting as soon as you're done with dinner. Let that fast kind of take you all the way through the night, and then just fast for a couple hours in the morning until you've hit that 12-hour window. Now, if that doesn't work for you, you can also choose to fast in the middle of the day, but really what works best for you, I typically would look and see what you have planned for the week, and then choose the hours that you're the busiest, and sleeping also counts as being busy. Your second week, you'll be introduced to a 16-hour window. Third week, we're going to split into a 2-day different fast. So we'll do a 12-hour window fast and a 16-hour window fast. On week 4, it's going to be the first time that we introduce the longest fasting window, which is going to be a 24-hour fast. From there, if you'd like to try a little bit longer, if you'd like to try a 2-day split, you're going to be introduced to a 24-hour fast and a 16-hour fast. I do suggest that you take 48 hours in between your fast at a minimum to ensure that your body is kind of re-regulating itself in regards to hormones and in regards to metabolism. Just really ensure that everything is back up to its highest level. The 5th through the 8th week, you are going to be introduced to 2 24-hour windows. This is what I've been doing for the last month. I feel great. It did take a little bit of time to get used to, that's for dang sure. But I do my fasting windows. I start my fast at 2 p.m. After I've eaten breakfast, I worked out, I eat lunch, and then I start my fast. So really, I just miss out a dinner on that day. I fast throughout the rest of that day, and then I start eating again at 2 p.m. So I actually get in a lunch, a little bit of a snack, and a dinner on that next day. The most important part of this, and I say this again because it's extremely important, the most important part of your fasting is to ensure you are not eating over your energy balance on your days that you're supposed to feed. Energy balance, so when we're just sitting still, our body burns calories. This is called your basal metabolic rate, or your BMR. This is usually the most amount of calories that you burn in a day is just from keeping yourself alive. So for ease of simplicity here, let's just say your body burns 2,000 calories just sitting on the couch. Your body is burning that just to survive. It's pumping blood, it's digesting food that you ate from the day before, it's running your heat system and cooling system, all of those types of things. So anything on top of that, that would be your 2,000 BMR, that is keeping your body alive. Anything we do on top of that would be extra calories. So that's if you exercise and you burn 300 calories, for that day, your body needs 2,300 calories to keep you at maintenance. It keeps you maintaining. So that means all of our caloric deficit for those who are looking to lose body fat will come from you fasting for certain amounts of time, which allows you to eat more food on the days that you're able to eat, but we don't want to go above that level. We can't go above that level because anything that's surplus, your body's going to take and it's going to store that as body fat. This is not a free-for-all. This is why once we hit that 24-hour fasting window, you will also be receiving meal plans to kind of guide your eating windows to ensure that you're getting enough food and enough of the right foods. These short fasting windows allows your body to reset. If you really think about it, we're pretty much always in a fed state. Even if we're eating 3 to 4 hours in between meals, we are constantly fed. Our bodies are constantly working to fully digest food, and it leaves us regulating hormones, but really relying on food that we eat to regulate the hormones rather than just the body itself. It allows you to be in a caloric deficit, which I told you earlier, and it also allows a little bit of freedom. If you think about how many choices you make on a daily basis that are all based on food, what should I have for breakfast? When am I getting lunch? What should I have for a snack? All of these food-based decisions can be exhausting. If you take out a full day of eating and you just simply are not eating and you're only drinking non-calorie beverages, it gives you so much freedom to actually get stuff done. Rules for the feeding. So if you choose to do the standard Annex Lab or the feeding Annex Lab, you'll receive 3 customized meal plans that are meant to guide your eating habits. It will give you a good blueprint for what you should be eating every day and how much you should be eating every day. It allows you to understand how your food supports the efforts in the gym. So when we're burning all of these extra calories, how the food that you're eating will actually skyrocket your results rather than just focusing on what and how intense you're working out in the gym. It cleans up and limits your food choices. I also allow you to have a cheat meal every week. So with the feeding window, you're allowed to just take a meal off every so often. If you want to keep track, I do suggest that you try to stay within 150% of your daily calorie goals to make sure that, as I said in the fasting, to make sure we don't go too far into the surplus. And I also suggest hitting that protein goal, as usually that's the hardest for people to hit. Tracking. So now we're going to talk about the rules for both fasting and feeding. So once we make that decision, once we do that split, there's rules for both of them. I want you to track your food every day. Obviously for fasting, you have some time off and you don't have to track your food. This makes sure that you are getting the quantity of food that you need. Like I said, and like I stressed with the fasting window, you have to make sure you're not going over energy balance. Okay. We've been kind of having this, we have this like hammer to our head in the fitness industry that if you want to put on more mass, you got to eat, you got to eat, you got to eat. But really, you're going to put on body fat and muscle mass at the same time when body fat isn't necessary, really. So as long as we're making sure the quantity of food that we're supposed to be eating is accurate, we'll be good to go. Any extras that you eat aside from your meal plans, I want you to add those into your daily log so we can see how they affect that surplus or that deficit. And it also will give you a snapshot of your why every single day. What is your why? Why did you join this challenge? Why are you struggling with the goals that you have in the gym? Or why are you struggling in the kitchen? After we see your day of eating and you look at it, can you be honest with your efforts for that day? Can you look and see what's on the tracking on your journal and say, I did everything possible to make myself a better person? Other rules: no alcohol. I usually allow people to have 2 different alcoholic beverages every week, but just try it. Just cut it out for 8 weeks. No one needs to have alcohol. We want to have alcohol. If you are really serious about making big changes in the gym, big changes in your body composition, just cut the alcohol. It's empty calories. As soon as it enters our body goes into a state of detoxifying what we just put in our system. It reduces your ability to synthesize protein, so that helps you put on muscle mass. It impairs muscle growth. It alters your hormone levels. It can actually even slow down metabolism. This is really one of the only things that deter metabolism. So ensure that you're not getting that by just not drinking. 7 calories per gram of alcohol as well. If we look at this in comparison to the other macros, so protein is 4 calories per gram, carbs are 4 calories per gram, and fat is 9 calories per gram. So alcohol, even though it's just a liquid, it is higher than both protein and carbs in regards to calories. Progress pictures. I know this gets really uncomfortable for many people to take a visual snapshot of yourself, of your progress. I usually say take these at least weekly. You will get points for taking weekly progress pictures, but this is not mandatory. It does really help. And every single person that has ever taken before and after pictures or progress pictures, once we get to the end, if their efforts are true and honest, they never regret taking those pictures. So you can even put them away, put them in their own folder so you never have to look at them, but please take progress pictures. 1 picture from the front, 1 from the side, 1 from the back. Do your best to get a full body shot, and also try your best to wear the same clothing that you wore in the first week as you do in the 8th week once we're done. Workouts. So like I said, I do suggest that you guys keep your standard workout schedule first and foremost. That's the most important thing. I'm expecting 5 different 45-minute workouts or more per week. So if you typically come into the gym 3 times a week, you owe me 2 more workouts, whether that's just going for a walk, whether that's jumping on a bike, or going to the gym 1 more time that week. I'm assuming that you guys are working out for 5 days a week, at a minimum. And this will allow me to ensure that basal metabolic rate, the BMR, is being met, or we're in a slight deficit from that for those who are looking to burn body fat. It's the only way that I can ensure that we're getting in the calories that are necessary to ensure that our body is thriving. Meal plans and macros. Like I said, every single person on this challenge is going to, at some point, receive meal plans. Everything we eat is made up of macronutrients. It's also made up of micronutrients. Micronutrients are typically under-discussed. These are the minerals and the vitamins that we get in the food that we eat. Those are really important as well, but I'm gonna spend most of my time talking about macros, making sure that we're getting in adequate protein, adequate carbs, and adequate fat. So the reason that I say adequate and not a surplus is we have to make sure that our body's getting enough of what we need in order to continue to grow and to continue to meet our goals. Customized macros, it's dependent on the person. I have to look at the amount of body fat percent we hold, the amount of lean muscle mass, how well your body is at handling heat, what your goals are in the gym. All of these things are extremely important, which is why you should put me in charge of figuring out your macros and not look at an online typical like macro calculator. Everybody's going to receive semi-customized meal plans. It's going to be a snapshot of your day of eating. So when you look at your meal plan, you won't have to have any question of what you'll have for breakfast, a snack, a lunch, a snack, a dinner. You'll just know. As long as you stay eating everything on that meal plan, you'll get your macros, you'll get your micros, because they are customized to you and to your goals. The only time that's going to change is if you start adding things or if you start making some adjustments to those. You'll find very quickly that once you start eating according to the plan, how full you may become or how hungry you might be. That's because instead of having calorie-dense food, so we think of calorie-dense like a Twinkie, it's a lot of calories and a very small amount of food. Instead of having that, you're going to start getting nutrient-dense food. So if we think a Twinkie is about the same size. It's a bad explanation. It's about the same size as a chicken breast. Okay, chicken breast is going to have a lot fewer calories, but a lot more nutrients in that amount. So we take a look at this in regards to all of this type of stuff, right? We look at Starbucks breakfast with a venti frappa, whatever that is, little breakfast sandwich and a slice of, we'll call that pumpkin bread. Who knows? Whatever that is. It equates to 1,450 calories. You'll find if your meal plan had 1,450 calories, instead of getting all of that in one breakfast, you could spread all of this other food out throughout the day. Still, 1,450 calories is a pretty minimal amount, so you'd have to be a pretty small human for that to be your daily caloric allotment. Same thing with the Burger King. I don't know if that is, whatever, fast food restaurant with the fries, the burger, the shake, as opposed to all the nice nutrient-dense food that's on that right-hand side. I like to show this because you can see how small the quantity is for those calories as opposed to the quantities on the right-hand side. Brand names. This comes up all the time when we move on to meal plans. I can only suggest foods that I know and that I'm comfortable with. So if you guys get to, let's say you go to Trader Joe's and they don't have everything because specific brands aren't held at Trader Joe's, they don't have those types of things. Or even if I found something at Vaughn's and you're at Pavilions, they may be completely different. Do a quick Google search for the specific brand if you are not aware of it, and that way having what the packaging looks like might help in your search. If you're sure that the branding is not there, so again, if you're at Trader Joe's and it has something Kroger brand, look at the calories per serving and then look at the main macronutrient. So let's say you're looking for a specific brand of noodle, look at the carb content. Then make sure that the calories per serving are around the same. That will ensure that we're getting something as close as possible. It doesn't have to be exact. How to track. If you watch the Annex Lab or the technology seminar that goes along with this challenge, you'll be taken through exactly how to track your food in the Annex Lab app. If you're using the app and if your meal plans are in the app, it's extremely simple. You can just take that meal plan, add it to the day's log, and then anything that you add or subtract to that meal plan, you can put it in on your daily journal. It's super simple. You also have the opportunity to do exchanges. Let's say halfway through you get sick of having chicken breast, and now you can change that to ground turkey or maybe even a lean cut of beef. Whatever the options are, the exchanges will be automatically adjusted in regards to calories to make sure that it stays around the same amount. Weighing versus measuring. This is also extremely important. I know it may seem tedious to get out your scale every time, especially if something is giving you like 1 cup of broccoli. You should look at the calorie amount and also figure out how much that weighs so you can be as consistent as possible. The Annex Lab app is limited in this sense, and sometimes I'm only able to give you cups instead of grams or ounces. But as you can see here, if I took a scoop of protein powder, and this is protein powder, this isn't like you're eating an avocado or a cup of avocado and you're packing that avocado in, it's going to be a lot more calories if you pack it in as if you cut it, as opposed to cutting it. So the full scoop on that left-hand side when you're looking at the screen is 185 calories, as opposed to the actual serving size of 31 grams, which is 120 calories. So you can see that you're getting an extra 65 calories in without even noticing it. It's a tiny little bit, but it adds all the difference if you're adding it up on a daily basis and on a weekly basis. Cheat meals. Be careful with this one. Make sure that you're making good decisions, but I do want this to be flexible because I want this to be a lifestyle. I want you to understand that if we're doing good things most of the time, you don't have to make the right decision every single time. You don't have to feel handcuffed by this. I want this to be the way that your nutrition can last for the rest of your life. Okay, so experiment with this. If your body's telling you like, hey, I really need to just go grab something that's fast and tasty, have at it. Cheat smart. Really aim to allow yourself just one meal per week. Try your best to stay under 150% of your daily calorie allotment. This goes for every single person, those who are fasting and those who are not. Get your protein in because protein's important when you guys are strength training. And then try your best to cut a few grams of fat and carbs, since typically that's what cheat meals consist of. We don't necessarily go and just say, hey, I'm going to have a cheat meal full of lean ground turkey. It's usually like a lot of French fries, which have fat, which are carbs. So just cut some from earlier parts of the day. Drinks and condiments. Okay, this is where we kind of differ a little bit. So those who are fasting, during your fasting times, you're not allowed to have anything that has calories in it. I do understand that black coffee does have some calories, and so does some tea, but I will allow that as long as the calories are coming from actually the stuff that's being steeped. You're allowed to have black coffee, tea, any type of tea, hot tea, iced tea. Same thing, no added sweeteners. If you add the sweeteners, they have to be 0-calorie sweeteners, so you can go ahead and give those a try. Sparkling water is free game, as long as it is non-calorie beverage. Even Coke Zero or any of the sodas that have 0 sugar, 0 calories, you're more than welcome to have those as well. On your non-fasting day, you have to follow these rules. So this goes for everybody on the challenge now. All non-calorie drinks, fair game. No alcohol. I should have made that its own section. No alcohol. If you drink alcohol, it's okay, but that will go against your total points. Condiments that are low calorie, check on the serving size and make sure that they stay under 5. So this is if you're going to use salsas and they're not on your meal plan, make sure that they stay under 5 calories. Salsas, like I said, are fair game. There's actually a lot of condiments, now that I think about it, that are like Frank's Red Hot, no calories, no additives. Go ahead and have at that. So hot sauces. There are some healthier brands of ketchup that are under 5 calories as well if you're a ketchup person. Any spices and herbs, feel free to use whatever you want. Just make sure that they don't have any added sugar. You'd be surprised at how many things in your cabinet that are used for just general spice have added sugar in them. So just make sure that you check those, but you're more than welcome to spice up your game that way. Fruits and vegetables. Veggies, go ahead and add these on as any snack. If you're feeling hungry and you're in your feeding part of the challenge, you can add them in as a snack. Eat as much or as many as you'd like. Fruits, I would say if they're not on the plan, don't eat them. Don't snack on them because they do add some calories in fairly quickly, as we typically eat more than a serving size when we eat fruit because it's delicious. Okay, let's talk about feelings here. So this also goes from the fasting people and the feeding people. These are things that every single person experiences, and it's things that I know people are worried about if you've never done significant periods of fasting. Cravings. So when you have a craving for, I really want some pizza, or I really need a Snickers bar, even if you're craving more fat in your diet, so you're like, I really just want avocado or oil, I always go by this saying, the things that you crave the most are likely the reason you're not currently on track. If you're craving candy, if you're craving sugar, it's probably because you overeat sugar. If you're craving fat, It's probably because you overeat fat. And now that we're regulating those things and we're kind of pulling them down, your body's telling you that it needs that. It's going through withdrawals essentially. So acknowledge the craving, see where that craving comes from, and know that you're getting better by making the conscious decision not to have that food. There's going to be a talk later about motivation and mindset in this challenge, because 90% of why we are feeling the way that we're feeling, even when we're working out, even when we're dieting, it's all a mindset shift. And sometimes these cravings come up because of the way that we've dealt with trauma in the past. So this mindset, if this is you consistently, rewatch the mindset seminar and kind of get in touch with why you're having these cravings in the first place. Feeling overly full, or on the other end of the spectrum, feeling hungry. Without the proper amount of food, so too much food, not enough food, our body starts to produce this hunger hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin's going to start to decrease, so as that hormone starts to get into the negative, we start to feel hungry. If we constantly are feeding our body and we constantly have food in our body, meaning that our body's in a constant state of being fed, that ghrelin hormone is going to be more easily agitated. So once it starts to decrease, our body runs into kind of a fight or flight mechanism. I feel hungry, I'm going to eat. That's our typical go-to. Just ensure that that, again, is acknowledged, it's appreciated, but we aren't feeding it all the time. No pun intended. Eat the calories that are necessary to fuel you and fuel your exercise, but we don't have to eat anything over that. So if we are feeling hungry at the end of the day and we've already eaten all of our food, understand that we've gotten enough food to support the exercise that we're doing, and now it's just probably a boredom thing, or you're seeking out hunger to make you feel a specific way. Not many of us have experienced what true hunger actually feels like when you've gone for weeks without food. So thinking about a 24-hour fast, 1 day worth of not having food, it's not something that is going to be detrimental to your body at all. On the other end of the spectrum, if you are feeling overly full, it's your body getting used to getting a certain amount of calories in that feed your BMR, that feed your energy. So if you're eating under that, your body's going to stop doing things like regulating your hormone and stop metabolizing things properly, because you're not feeding it enough. And unfortunately, this is a lot of people that I do meal plans for, especially when they feel really full. I know that they're not feeding themselves to support their body every single day. If you're feeling backed up, so going from a calorie-dense diet to a nutrient-dense diet can have a problem with your bowels. It can make it hard to go to the bathroom, or make it way too easy to go to the bathroom, because we're adding in fiber, something that you might not have gotten enough of. Also, for the people who are fasting, not eating a full day and increasing your amount of liquids that you're intaking, you'll feel a little bit different. Things might feel a little looser. So here's a couple recommendations that I have. If you're feeling a little backed up, try to decrease your daily fiber amount and then slowly start to increase it. So on the days that you're allowed to eat, or in some of your meal plans, maybe pull back a little bit in some of those fiber-dense foods. And then keep getting your water in. Your body will start to get used to the fiber intake that you're putting into your body. And so just ensure that you're getting water. Like I said, for the fasting people, if you're drinking a lot of water, a lot of liquids, try adding a little bit of soluble fiber. I would say I only try this with the powder in your first couple weeks, or maybe just try adding in soluble fiber on the day that you're able to eat. There's a list of things in here that you can look at. Apples, citrus fruit, carrots, beans. You can also try decreasing the amount of fat that you have, about 5 to 10 grams a day. That's probably half a serving size, if that, maybe just a little oil, and see if that helps with things. These are 3 feelings that a lot of people experience. They feel dizzy, they start getting headaches, and they start feeling angry, or hangry as people have referred to it, which, coming from experiencing fasting for a long period of time, I think hangry is something that we've allowed our body to feel like it's normal. where really we're just allowing our emotions to take over because we want food. We're essentially throwing a tantrum. If you are experiencing any of these three things, start tracking your water and make sure that you're getting in at least 3 liters of water every single day. Some of these signs can just show us that we're losing too much water. For those that are fasting, because there's not as much digestion going on, we actually do need more water in our body as it's not being pulled into the food that we eat every day. So make sure that you're getting in your water, and this will help with all of those symptoms. If you still are experiencing that, add a little bit of salt to your water, add a little salt to the food if you're able to be in that feeding window. You can also add some electrolytes. Potassium, sodium are really good to start kind of combating those things that you may be feeling. If those things don't work, it could be a sugar detox. For those that are allowed to eat, have some berries. For those that aren't allowed to eat, have some tea. And those types of things might just calm everything down, might give you a little bit of time to relax. If it's of utmost importance and it's a dire need, go ahead and have some Advil, just like you would with a normal headache. I would say for those who are experiencing dizziness or a headache while they're exercising, I would highly suggest altering your fasting window. So maybe you're eating immediately before working out and then your fast starts as soon as you start working out. That should allow you enough energy to feel strong during your workouts. But again, it has been proven that we don't technically need calories in our body, like readily available calories or even inter-workout calories, in order for our body's blood sugar to not drop. Blood sugar stays the same regardless. So some of these feelings might just be withdrawal symptoms from not having food. Consumerism. This is what really got me when I was doing more research in regards to fasting, was just really taking a look at all of the reports and a lot of the studies that come out in regards to food. Keto, Mediterranean diet, fasting, Atkins, all of these things that we're bombarded with in regards to advertising, all of the research done behind them that backs what they're doing, most of it is food-related advertising. So it's the major food companies that are paying to have those studies performed within their labs to push those studies out to the average consumer who is not going to deeply research things where they just see, hey, you know what? It looks like the Mediterranean diet is good for me, or it looks like the Atkins diet is good for me. I'm only going to buy foods that say that it's Atkins friendly. If you look at the sheer volume of money that's spent, $10 billion each year is spent by big companies on food-related advertising. Okay, so we're constantly in front of all of these things that are telling us, eat this, eat that, don't eat this, but eat more of this. And it's kind of ridiculous because what you really think about, the only true thing that comes in regards to nutrition, if you want to lose body fat, eat less. That's it. That's all. If you're in a caloric deficit, you will lose body fat. It's science. It's the way that our metabolism it runs on. So by somebody saying you have to eat this, you can't eat that, eat more of this, don't eat that, those types of things are just marketing ploys. And I really sat down and thought about that in regards to myself. Like, have I given this enough of a chance, or am I really just solely focused on performance-based nutrition? And what does that really mean? So as I got deeper into it, I realized that there's so many different things that I've been told throughout my life that are actually false when you look at a lot of the research that has been done in regards to fasting. Every single day, the U.S. makes enough food for every person to have 4,000 calories within our country, which is insane, the amount of food that's being floated around, but also insane the amount of hungry people that there are in our country that are starving, that aren't able to afford this food, because all that's forced behind it, all that is leading this food is the fact that we need people to buy more food. It's consumerism. We need people to spend more money. You can't sell eating less. If you think about fasting, it cuts out all of your calories for that day. Now you have 2,300 extra calories to eat throughout the rest of the week. But because we can't say, oh, just stop eating because it doesn't sell food, it doesn't sell my product, I'm not going to base any solid research off fasting because I don't make money from it. That's where the big corporations are. Even the fact of having breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, all of those things have slowly been ingrained into our common vocabulary. You have to eat breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day. But really, break fast is what that word is comprised of. It's you sleep all night, and then you break your fast with whatever food you want. That breakfast can happen any time of the day. It doesn't have to be cereal or oatmeal or eggs. Again, that is advertising. That's marketing being thrown at us. You have to eat these foods at this specific period of time. Dinner is actually, I don't remember what language it is, but it does break down to the same thing, breaking a fast. Lunch was originally oriented to allow people to have a quick snack in between their breakfast and their dinner. Lunch stands for a handful. It literally was you grab a handful of food, you grab it, you eat it, and you carry on with your day. Snacks are just something that the industry made up to get you to buy more things. Well, you have to have snacks, so you need to buy beef jerky, you need to buy crackers, all of these little things to allow you to have these small meals in between our big meals. If you think about it, it's just starting to get you to eat more and more food, which means that you're buying more and more food. You're spending more and more money. It literally controls our life. If you think about the time that you wake up, as soon as you start eating food, our clock starts. We have our breakfast. Now you go to work. Oh, I have to have a snack before I start answering emails. Oh, now it's lunchtime. I get my lunch break. So now I get to take a step back from my computer. Oh, wait, I got to have a snack before I go home and eat dinner. Oh, now I'm going to go to the gym, but I got to make sure I fit my anabolic window and have my dinner within 30 minutes to an hour. We think about it and it's just this constant anxiety of when am I going to eat next and what am I going to have? If you take all of that out by simply not eating for a day, it relieves so much stress from your daily life. So why are we doing this? What is the Annex Lab and why do we constantly change it up? Is the original one not good enough? Are we shifting our beliefs? It's not that. I believe every single body is completely different. I believe every single brain is completely different. With every body being different and every brain and hormonal makeup being different, I can't expect one specific style of eating to work well for everybody. So what the Annex Lab was developed for is exactly what a laboratory does. It allows you to experiment. It gives you the platform, it gives you the research, it gives you the knowledge and the education behind a very specific style of eating, whatever that may be. So the original Annex Lab was, let's try eating meal plans, let's weigh our food, let's ensure that we're getting the right amount of food in. It was wildly successful. But that doesn't mean it worked for everybody. There's definitely the people that trailed off and they're like, yo, I can't measure all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. So then we tried a habit-based challenge. Just follow these 5 things every day and you don't have to limit the amount of food or you don't have to weigh any food that you're eating. Wildly successful for some, not for others. Since everything is different, we need to experiment. Give yourself the time, give yourself the opportunity to actually feel different things. If you're scared about it, actually understand, what are you afraid of? If you chose the feeding window, did fasting make you uncomfortable? Did the thought make you uncomfortable? You could potentially have a negative relationship with food if you think that you need food consistently and if food continues to kind of lead your daily life. This could be the shift that your body needs in order to push it past a certain breaking point. Everyone thrives on a specific energy balance as well. Some people do better with carbs. Some people do better with fat. If we don't know what you're getting in on a daily basis, we'll never know what you actually thrive off of. It's easier to have a plan than to guess. It always is easier to have a plan than to guess. It's even easier when the plan is not eating. Measuring food is specific, eyeballing is not. So again, for both the feeding and the fasting routes, You're gonna have to track your food because we can't eyeball and just hope that we're getting the right amount of food in if you have a specific goal. Measuring is specific, it will help you reach your specific goals. As I said before, the things you struggle with in this challenge are probably the reason why you are where you are. Is the struggle just in knowing that you won't be able to have food in 2 hours, in 6 hours, in 12 hours? Is that a struggle? Does it make you uncomfortable? If it does, it might be the reason why you are where you are currently. The hormonal and the physical benefits behind fasting are insurmountable. I can't even tell you how many research articles I've read in support of this. Every religion around the world does this. Pretty much every country around the world participates in some sort of fast. It's extremely beneficial. As uncomfortable as it may seem, I want you to have this opportunity to try it. Just give it a go. And if you're totally against it and you're totally not comfortable with it, I get it. That's why we have the 2 different tracks to allow everybody to have the accountability that this challenge needs. That's all I have for the Annex Lab breakdown. Hopefully this gave you a much more detailed insight into what this challenge has in store. If you have any other questions, just resort back to the challenge PDF, read through that, and then you'll make sure that you understand what's going on a weekly basis. Keep your eye on your email. Make sure that you download Kajabi, Train Heroic, and the Annex Lab app. You'll be getting logins for all of those if you haven't already received them. But by the end of this week, we should be all set up, all ready to go, and you should be ready to start this challenge. Best of luck, guys.